Hello, y'all, and welcome to On the Sofa with SISU. I'm Olajide.
And I'm Louisa.
And this week we have an extra special guest, Ricki from up the road.
Ricki. What's on this week's show?
All right, today we're talking about monogamy. We're talking about serial dating, which are kind of opposites. We're talking about Grindr. We're talking about The Coronation and Grey's Anatomy, because we all need a bit of Meredith Grey in our lives.
Enjoy the show! Hello. Oh, welcome back, y'all. Don't know about you, but I am hot. Coming in hot.
You've been a hot mess all day.
How does that song go?
I'm coming in hot.
That's all we know.
Yeah, that's
all we know.
I think you made that song up.
No,
Yeah.
it's a.
Oh no, I'm actually thinking of something else.
Okay.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
Oh yeah, nothing
That's what I
can
was
stop
thinking
me.
of.
I'm all the way
God.
up.
Oh
All the
God,
way
I've got
up.
that totally wrong.
Different song.
Yeah.
Anywho, how was your week?
Well, it's been an eventful week actually. Maisie had a strike day again, so that was interesting.
It's like become our everyday.
It's a regular thing.
It's just become like our everyday.
She hasn't had a full day at school, a full week at school for like God knows how long. I don't know. But also something really terrible happened this week, which I have never experienced before, and somebody was actually stabbed outside of Maisie's school at pickup time. Yeah, it was honestly.
Sorry,
I did not.
I don't know why I just laughed. It's just.
You just couldn't make it up.
It's just the world that we live in. Like.
Well, that's what I thought. Like, oh my gosh, like, is this where we are now in this world? Like,
At
there's
least
just
we're not as bad as America.
stabbings all the time. It's very, very sad, but it was very scary. The kids were obviously really upset. It wasn't seen by many children. There was some that saw it happen, but there was a lot of blood and stuff on the floor on the way home, and Maisie's very queasy, and so that really shook her up. But yeah, it was a bit of a mad time, and to be honest, it's kind of like taken over my whole thoughts from the week, because I just thought, number one, like, how scared that person must have been. Number two, you know, the kids that were outside already on their way home from school, they must have been so frightened. You know, and the parents were panicking. It was pandemonium. It was pandemonium. But I will say the police were very, very quick to the scene, and there was a lot of them.
Do you know what? When you sent me the voice note, I told you, didn't I? I said I felt like I was listening to a podcast, a crime podcast. It just felt so surreal. Like, obviously, because we live so close to each other, it just felt like, wow, this is happening in our ends. Like, this is. It's
like something you hear about really on the news and stuff, and it's happening a lot in London, but it kind of almost doesn't seem as real until
it happens on your doorstep.
Yeah,
that's what happened to us when we were in Harlesden.
Yeah,
like that's why we left Harlesden.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we left Harlesden because
we're laughing because that's where I live now.
We left Harlesden because it was someone got shot on the flat above, and it became really rough around there. There was stabbings and shootings left, right, and centre. So
yeah, fortunately you could leave. That is
we'll get you out,
privilege.
Babes. We'll get you out. We'll get you out. Fucking hell.
I'm living in the suburbs.
No, the fact is, you're not even in central London.
I don't want to get like political about it, but the fact that this sort of stuff reaches this. I grew up in the suburbs too, in Ealing, which is not quite as suburbs as you guys, but like there's, you know, you see crime and stuff there now that you didn't see before, and the fact that it's, you know, something like that happening where you live is quite out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But it is a testament to the time that we live in, because people are desperate.
It's on the rise.
And it comes from, you know, years and years of people living on just like the brink.
Yeah.
You know, people are desperate. They've got no money. They can't afford their energy bills, the poverty.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes hand in hand with a rising crime. because people are desperate. And so, you know, as much as you can talk about, you know, the amount of police officers that have been cut for the last however many years, or, you know, less like social policing, or I don't know I can't remember the word for it is now, but you know, like the PCOs.
Do you mean like the community support?
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
They you know, there's less of them, but actually, you know, people are in desperate times. People do desperate things.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a sign of the current climate that we live in.
100%. That is the scary thing about it. That is the scary thing about it.
What a week.
What a week.
What a week. What a week.
Yeah. And you? And your week?
My week has been that. That's what my week has been. Pop, scratch, week. I went to I can't say the word, the Harmonian Museum.
Nice.
In Dulwich. Is it called the Harmonian?
I have no idea what you're saying right now.
Harmonian Gardens and Museum.
Anyway.
I went there.
You went outside.
It was beautiful. Sean wanted us to go there because it's got a really amazing view of London, and they had a market on, so we went there, which was lovely. I also went to see Black Superhero at the Royal Court Theatre.
I saw that a couple of weeks ago.
Did you? What did you think of it, please?
I think it was done really well. There were a few bits that I kind of wish they had explored a bit more. But given how many stories they try to tell in that amount of time, I understand why they probably couldn't explore certain topics in more depth, because otherwise it would just go on for hours and hours.
Yeah.
But I think it was really good.
You know, I am always rooting for everyone black. You know me. That's my motto. However,
can you give the listeners a little scope about what it's about? First of all, what's this plot?
The plot is this group of friends, gay, and they kind of are in the arts, I say. Like, so one of them's an actor.
I think they're all actors.
They're all actors, are they? Yeah, they're all actors. And one of them plays a superhero in a film, or
he's a Hollywood star,
a sitcom. And he is idolized by fans, and one of his friends is obviously clearly, well, all of them, the other guys have a crush on him, and the storyline goes with both of them end up getting with him. One of them becomes obsessed with him, and he's actually married, cheats on his partner. Well, no, he's in a, what's it called? Open relationship. And that's kind of the storyline goes around, meandering around this guy who is the lead character, who is kind of obsessed with him, but also has a lot of mental health issues and trauma from previous past stuff that's happened in his life. And he goes through a bout of depression, and actually is addicted to this superhero character because of his trauma.
Right. Okay.
Which is a good segue into the conversation we're going to have today, isn't it?
It's a great segue into today's episode. But just before we move on, my thing that I did not appreciate about the storyline was I am bored of seeing the same narrative about gay relationships. I always feel like people out there in the world think that gay people just go out and have loads of sex. And they sleep with each other, and that's just like the gay culture.
You keep bashing the mic.
Oh, sorry. The gay culture is all about sex.
I feel very attacked right now.
But it's not like, not every gay person sleeps around. Not every gay relationship is an open relationship. Not every gay person cheats. Not all gay friends sleep with each other. And I feel like every time I see a gay narrative, that is the same narrative that I'm seeing. And I just would like, and I feel like I came out the theatre, it was actually in the interval, I came out and I said to Sean, I was like, I just want to see a standard relationship, like mine and Sean's.
Romance.
A bit more romantic, a bit more, fun, exploring the world. Like, I can't relate to these gay storylines because I don't live that life. And so it'd be nice to see more of the stuff that actually a lot of other people do relate to. I don't want to always see trauma. I don't always want to see all that negative stuff. I don't want to see all the stereotyping that means no of the gay culture. I want to see stuff that's new that people don't know enough about. Like, I live a very, very cultured life. And I'm gay. I have never cheated. I do not sleep around.
You're gay?
I'm not in an open relationship. So why can't I see storylines that represent that? And that was my other thing.
I would like to respond to that, actually.
Okay.
Because I understand the want for nuanced gay characters on television, in movies, on the stage. I think this play, however, specifically like that had a specific audience. The writer clearly had a specific audience in mind when he wrote that play. And it wasn't for everybody. That wasn't for the straights to look at gay lives. It felt very much like a comment on his experience as a gay person, which, you know, whilst it may be quite different to the experience that you have as a gay person, as a black gay person, many people can relate to that. And I think probably quite a lot of the gay community can relate to some of the issues that he brought up in that play. So whilst I totally agree with you, there does need to be a space for you know, nuanced characters. That doesn't then mean in place of the type of characters that we saw in that play, because there's still a space for that. There are still people that relate to that. So we need to not replace one with the other, but there's definitely needs to be space to add in addition to.
So the writer the writer is gay also?
The writer is the actor that played the main character.
Yeah, the main character.
Oh, really?
Although
So this could be a reflection of his experiences?
It definitely was, yeah.
Right,
the day I went to
which
see, he
makes
wasn't
sense.
actually in it. He wasn't in it.
I'll talk to you after the show.
We thought something had happened because it was the last show. We went on Saturday. It was the last showing, and he wasn't in it.
So here's the tea. There was some drama between the actors. It actually got stopped playing for a few days.
Yeah, because Sean got cancelled.
Yeah.
So Sean was booked on that day,
and it was drama. But I don't know the full ins and outs. But there was some like drama between the writer and some of the other cast members. And yeah, I guess they just couldn't be on stage together from that point. So it went off for a few days, and then obviously the actor was replaced with somebody else.
Oh, right.
But this is what I mean about the gays. You know, you can't take them anywhere.
Dramas.
But can I just say, yeah, the reason why I say it is not because I think that the writer shouldn't share his story, because I think there's space for everyone's story. The thing is that I've seen a lot of plays recently that have been around the same kind of experience. And so I'm looking out there and thinking there is definitely a space for another sort of
Do you know what I think it is as well,
where
though?
the fire is at the moment, though?
The fire's always been there, though. That's a storyline that people, I think, already know a lot about.
Do you know what it is as well? Like to take it to like kind of like a more like basic level, like those experiences, that trauma makes for good stories. It makes for good art. So like you find that artists, you know, typically have had those kind of experiences because that's what kind of influences their art. If you've lived a life with no trauma and you're just happy little gay life with like, you know,
your white picket fence.
Right. Nobody wants to hear about that. That's boring.
I mean, you know, you're not going to go and sit in a theatre for an hour and a half and watch that, are you?
My Gay Happy Life. Nobody wants to see that.
Happy, healthy homo. I would go and see it.
I think there are other venues for that kind of thing.
There's actually a podcast I listen to called Happy, Healthy Homo. And I would go and see a play that was called that because I want to see
Happy,
healthy homos.
I can't relate.
Yeah. Anyway, this takes
We'll delve into that later.
I'll delve into that later. But you know what? I feel like Ricky's spoken so much and we've not given him the true introduction. So over to you.
Ricky needs no introduction.
You do.
Ricky wrote his own introduction. A self-proclaimed relationship expert, despite never having been in one. Ricky is no stranger to the world of dating. Once described as a serial dater by our very own Olajide, Ricky's life can only be described as a series on unfortunate events, and today he is here to tell us all about how he navigates life as a single white female.
welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be
My
be
drink
our
is
guest.
finished, by the way.
You can have another.
Thank you so much for agreeing to join us on the sofa.
Thank you so much for having me. I actually think it's hilarious that you guys asked me to come and join your podcast on an episode specifically about relationships, knowing that I have no experience in the department. But I also have a lot of opinions.
I actually didn't. I actually asked you to be on the episode to talk about gay dating.
Well, that I have experience.
Not about
in,
relationships.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay.
Do you want?
Situationships.
Yeah, we wanted you to talk about that. But before we go in, let's do what we love to do, our little icebreaker. So, every episode we have a little icebreaker just to break us in. And today the icebreaker is: what's your biggest guilty pleasure?
What is my biggest guilty pleasure? Oh my gosh, that's a really. I guess I can't say food.
No.
Where's my?
It's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it?
It is, because what do you constitute as like guilty? Like, what is it? It kind of has negative connotations, but I like everything that I do.
Maybe what society
What's your
would
star
deem
sign?
as-
I'm a Leo.
That's a very Gemini answer.
You are definitely a Leo.
Do you think?
Yeah, look at him over there stroking his mane.
I used to have a name. It's gone now, though.
You need your answer now, please.
Oh, my guilty pleasure. So I guess maybe like Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's
Okay.
Anatomy.
So I started watching Grey's Anatomy last year, and I watched 18 seasons in about 6 months. Yeah, and every season is about 20 something episodes,
What?
and every episode is like 50 minutes long.
That's a lot of your time.
Yeah, I know.
What did you gain out of
So
that?
this is why it's a guilty pleasure, I guess.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
What did I gain out of that?
Yeah.
A really strong relationship with Meredith Grey, and an appreciation for, you know, her trials and tribulations.
Did you learn any surgery?
As a single white female, I can really relate to the things she goes
Did
through.
you learn anything about medicine and surgery? Because I used to watch Holby City like it was going out of fashion, and I learned so much about. I mean, I remember.
You are such a soap queen. Do you know that?
I know, but I learned how you could do the thing where you put your finger on people's throats, find the middle thing, and poke a hole through.
Oh,
Don't
can't
ever do
imagine
that,
you doing
please.
that. I feel like you'd chop someone's head off.
Yeah, just let them take their chances.
I learned so much.
No, I haven't learned anything medical that I can remember. No.
What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. I've got this crush on Paul Rudd.
That's not guilty.
Isn't it?
Paul Rudd is everything.
I feel like he's a bit goofy and a bit like everyone I've ever spoken to has not fancied him.
No.
They're wrong.
And-
That's the thing.
What do you
Okay.
find attractive about him?
The goofiness, I think it is. He's goofy. He's just, like dad jokes. You know how much
You love
I
a dad
love
joke.
Does he have any kids?
dad jokes.
Because he gives very much dad energy.
I don't know, but he always plays a dad, I feel like, in films.
Yeah. But like,
But yeah, he's cute.
he is the kind of guy that I would look at and be like, yeah, you can put a kid in me.
Yeah.
I'll carry your
Sorry.
child.
Excuse.
Mm.
Okay.
It's the vibe that he gives off.
Right.
But I just feel like he's probably good to hang out. He's not like sexy vibes. He's just
He's-
like good to
but
hang
he
out
is
with.
though. He's like,
Oh my god, he's a sexy minger.
I don't. Okay, sure.
I got given this. I
I
got
don't
told.
like that word, minger.
I got told this terminology
I think I know what you're gonna say.
when I was like. Well, yeah, I used to when I worked at Burberry, and this girl, she came and worked with us for a few months, and she used to go on about her boyfriend's a sexy minger, and I was like, what even is that? And she was like, like somebody who's kind of like sexy, but not so sexy to everybody else. And I was like, oh, well, isn't that just like a
It's just
partner?
an acquired taste. then.
Yeah.
Isn't that just a partner?
You wish.
Isn't that just a boyfriend?
I think that I heard this term recently, actually, as well. I don't know. I think it's evolved now. I think the Gen Z have taken it up, and now it's like there's this thing called some people are ugly hot and some people are hot ugly,
Right.
and it's
Ugly
like
hot,
so it's
hot
like ugly hot are like people like that are like on paper they're like a bit ugly, but actually like they're really hot. Like an example of that would be like Adam Driver.
Who's
For example,
that?
he's the guy that. Did you ever watch Girls with Lena Dunham?
No.
Did you watch the new Star Wars film?
She doesn't watch anything.
You're basically talking a different language to me right now.
Okay, Google Adam Driver in your own time.
Okay.
But he's like, when you look at him, he's like, it's a really odd face. It's a bit weird looking.
Can you pull Adam Driver up on the screen for us, please?
Oh, is that a thing? Can we do that?
Can you pull it up from the screen for us, please?
But actually,
on the
when
screen
you like,
behind us.
you look at the whole picture and you're like, oh, actually, he's a bit of me.
Okay.
And then you've got people who are,
So he's ugly what?
oh, look at him. He's ugly hot.
Ugly hot.
Because he's got
Right.
a really weird face, but
He
actually
looks
he's
a bit
really
like
fucking hot.
Keanu Reeves.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the hair.
Yeah, the face is really like...
He's like a cross between
He
Keanu
was
Reeves and
in-
Nicolas Cage.
He was in Gucci.
Yeah.
He was in House of Gucci.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, and I thought that of him when he was on it. I was like, I fancy him, but I don't.
That's it.
I don't.
That's ugly
know.
hot. That's ugly
Yeah,
hot.
Okay.
But then you get people that are like hot ugly, who are like on paper, like obviously should be really attractive and hot, but you're like, I don't know if I would though.
But they're assholes.
Well, not necessarily assholes, but
Give us
like
an example.
a lot of people use Chris Evans as an example because he's like quite renowned for being like a heartthrob, like sex
Yeah, and
symbol.
he's
But when
had
you
a
look at
lot
him, you're like,
of-
are you?
Yeah, he's had a lot of hot.
Oh, Chris Evans is hot. I mean, oh god. Yeah.
But look at
this
him though.
guy.
Is he?
Oh, I thought you was talking
You talk about Ginger
bloody-
Chris Evans.
Yeah.
From the radio. Louisa, showing your
No,
age.
He is hot.
You are showing your age, Louisa.
He hasn't got a top lip, but he's hot. And I've got.
Oh, don't. Do you know what? I don't like this. I actually don't. I don't like
no.
judging people by the
No.
way that they look. It's
Don't
not,
judge
it's-
him. He married
it's
Billy
not-
Piper. He
it's
got
not
it in.
Cool. Is he,
He was
still
having a
with
good.
her?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think it
Oh,
lasted very
God.
long.
Anyway, that was funny. I like that. So my biggest guilty
Can I
pleasure.
can I just say, to differentiate between the Chris Evans, he typed Chris Evans ginger. I love it.
My guilty pleasure is definitely TikTok. I don't care for anyone's judgment. I will spend. I mean, we looked at my timings.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
It was a lot.
I'm not surprised.
It was a lot.
You've moved from Instagram to TikTok.
But I love it. I can sit on the toilet, scroll. I can sit in bed and scroll. I can sit anywhere and just scroll, and I just laugh, and I love it. It just makes me feel happy.
You know that's by design.
I know that's what it's made for.
TikTok, of all the social media apps, collects the most data on you. It
Really?
collects tons and tons and tons of data
I mean,
on you.
that doesn't surprise me.
And it's all designed to keep you flicking
Sucked
up.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I know, it's like most things these days, designed for us to just all be zombies.
Well, not Grey's Anatomy.
Anyway,
It's educational.
stop talking about Grey's Anatomy, please. But yeah, that was our icebreaker. Let's move on to the word on the street. Word on the street. Word on the street.
Word on the street.
You go first.
Okay, so obviously it's been the King's coronation in recent times, and there's been a lot of conflicting opinions, but there was a post by Monroe Bergdorf that I think is worth reading out.
Fitting.
So I'm going to go for it. So sorry to all the royalists out there,
Lucy,
but this
fast
is-
forward.
So she posted, "Dear rest of the world, don't be fooled by any propaganda you see coming out of the UK this weekend ahead of the coronation. The mood here is not jubilant, it is sour. England is a fascist nightmare where there are more food banks than branches of McDonald's. Pause. We don't want pageantry, we want affordable food and rent and bills. The timing of this coronation, with all its gold and bejewelled opulence, couldn't be more distasteful and sickening. It's unjustifiable and it's unwanted. If we're asking God to save anyone, it should be the 14.4 million people living in poverty, not the King." And, you know, whilst personally I don't really pay it that much attention, but I do think that this is really hard-hitting and has some really hard-hitting notes in there because, you know, the country is a shit show at the moment and there is a lot of people suffering. And the last thing that we needed was spending money on, you know, just a show, basically, one big show. And I'll tell you something else, actually, that did kind of get my back up a little bit. The whole pledging allegiance thing. Like, what asking to be pledged allegiance to, I just find that very outdated and unnecessary.
Something's coming, people.
I pledge allegiance to Meredith Grey. That's all.
I pledge allegiance to myself.
I was going to say, I pledge allegiance to myself. The only person that I can trust right now is me. Okay?
Oh my God.
I'm putting all my eggs into my basket.
You don't have any trust in Ricki?
I have
Did
no
she
trust
Ricki?
in anyone right
she
now
Ricki?
that has any authority over this country.
So that's the
Just
that's
saying.
that's
But
my,
I voted.
Word on bloody hell.
I voted because you can't sit here and go, you know, you got no trust, but you have to. I mean, I've got no trust, but I still have to like pretend that I want something to happen with a
Really?
better part. I don't know. I just feel like
I just feel like that's a completely different story.
It is. Let's not get
We're
into it.
we're talking about the
fine,
coronation
I'll shut
and that piece there. I just think very hard hitting, and it was worth highlighting.
What she did with that post was completely and utterly hit the nail on the head of the zeitgeist right now about how people in this country are feeling.
Yes.
And I think that it will come as quite a shock to some, you know, old biddy royalists out there to reckon with the fact that actually like a huge number of people in this country no longer want to uphold this establishment, this franchise basically, which is the monarchy, because, you know, aside from how distasteful it is to put on such a, you know, show that costs millions and millions at the taxpayers' behest, that's, you know, that's one thing in itself. But, you know, we can't forget the fact that these people's lives are completely different to, you know, the regular person, the regular you and I.
Yeah, no representation.
And the only reason why they afforded these lives is off of the backs of, you know, chattel slavery back in the day, colonialism, you know, centuries old systems that were set in place to keep power in a very minute amount of hands, and the working people of today whose taxes pay for all of the things that they, you know, get to do with their lovely lives.
Just because we're in more modern times doesn't mean that any of the systems have actually changed.
No.
But the systems are so ingrained and so, you know, pervasive into our day-to-day lives. There's no way of really getting away from it.
Yeah.
It's... God, that's depressing.
I mean, there are monarchies in many other countries as well, but none of them
not on this level
cost as much as ours do.
Not on this level. Not on this level.
And they do nothing, you know, to the good of the people.
And you know, I really would like to have, and I call upon anyone that feels like they could have a structured and a debate about why we need the monarchy. Because
what benefits do they bring?
You can't have that debate.
No, because
it won't be a debate in good faith, because to have a good faith debate, you have to all come with the same sets of facts. Everybody has to, whether you are on one side of them or on the other side of them, you all have to agree on the same set of facts. And you're not going to get people that are pro-monarchy that are basing their arguments on the same sets of facts, because they're going to make up their own facts and they're going to distort numbers and they're going to tell you the things that, you know, forward their own narrative. But when you look at the actual facts, the numbers, the effects that it has on society as a whole, it is inarguable to still have a monarchy, at least a tax-funded monarchy, in today's society.
Yeah.
There's no way to argue for it.
No, there really isn't. But I would still could call upon having the conversation, because I haven't really had a frank conversation to understand the other side, and I always feel like it's beneficial to understand where other people come from, where they. And I don't really know if I want to have it with someone that's not being aged or anything, but I don't want to have it with someone that's grown up with the monarchy per se. Is like I want to have it with our generation to understand why they feel like it's beneficial, because I do have friends who, you know, are royalists, and get really upset when when I talk like this about the royals. So I'd like to have a debate about it because I find it interesting to hear where different people's perspectives come from.
Isn't it funny how these people will defend to the ends of the earth these people that they have never met and have like no connection with at all?
I heard a woman this morning or somewhere? I heard this lovely black lady who had been camping out this weekend, or the weekend of the coronation, sorry, and she basically was saying about how she doesn't understand why Harry was invited, and that he should be ashamed of himself. And Meghan is, I can't remember what she called her, something or the other, and she was sitting there, and I was watching her thinking, I would really like to understand how you as an older black lady who potentially would have lived through some horrific times, how you can sit there and bash Meghan and Harry for standing up for their own and having their own voice, and even sit there and camp out to watch this nonsense.
That is called assimilation.
I know, it's just it's sad. Anyway, we should move on because we could talk about this all day.
And it's all rubbish at the end of the day. It's just literally it is, because no one's got a fucking clue about what's going on. Literally, no one's sat there talking to the royals and knows what's going on. No one knows what's going on behind closed doors. It's just all bloody rubbish.
To be honest, actually, there is a lot of talk about what happens behind closed doors, and there's a lot of dodgy dealings that the royal family do, but it's not publicized. It's not in mainstream media.
Absolutely, but this is the thing, like everything that goes on, all conversation that goes on about them in the current times is basically speculation, because nobody has hard truth.
Well, there's a lot of facts out there about how the royal family manipulate the parliament and government to change laws to benefit them, and this is when it gets like beyond even just pageantry, like it's corruption.
I don't think they have a say in anything, nor the government. I think it goes way above that.
Okay, we're treading into like Illuminati territory here, and I can't follow you down that path.
I'm going to swiftly move on before we get too deep and we don't have time to touch on what we're here for today. I'm not going to go into the other word on the street that I had because I just
say last word on the matter though before you move on very quickly. I don't know if any of you have seen the Swedish monarchy. If Prince William was as hot as the Prince of Sweden, I'd be on a completely different tune.
Who's the Prince of Sweden? Can you pull the Prince of Sweden up on the screen, please?
Listen,
oh my gosh.
Pretty privilege is real, and I will give him all the privilege because he is very pretty. He is a very, very handsome man.
Honestly, sometimes you say the most. We have the most intelligent conversations, and then you just talk like that, and I'm just like.
Because I got to ground you,
He looks like a Disney prince.
Exactly.
Yeah, he does. He looks.
Can you imagine if that was our royal family? I'd be like, yes, God save the Queen.
He is
king.
He is stunning.
He's a spice.
Wow.
He's a spice and a half.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay, but anyway,
his wife is also gorgeous. We should be, equality and all that.
Okay. So this brings us nicely into why we are here today. Yeah, Ricki is the man of dating, and today we're going to be talking about gayting. Jeez, I've done that, gayting. I find myself funny if no one else does. But start off, we want to talk to us about Impulse, because you do a lot of work with Impulse. Tell us, first of all, what is Impulse, and what do you do for them?
Wow.
How do you rep them?
So Impulse is a excuse me. Impulse is a global charity funded by the AIDS Health Organization. Started in the US, and the London bureau is the first one in Europe. It started in, I'm not going to say the year because I'll get it wrong and then I'll get in trouble, a few years ago. And I think it was 2017. But basically the aim is to connect, support and engage gay men globally. Although, however, like at in the London branch of Impulse, we kind of, not that the rest of Impulse isn't inclusive, but in the London branch, we kind of, our messaging is kind of tailored to a wider community, kind of just the whole LGBT community and allies. And so, yeah, the charity basically thankfully fully funded by the AIDS Health Organization, so we don't have to worry too much about fundraising, although it is appreciated, obviously. But we basically, at the start of every year, we sit down as a group and decide, or we discuss what issues, and we ask our community as well, what issues are affecting us the most in London as a gay community. And then we kind of set out a plan and dedicate that year to trying to kind of, remedy some of those issues and, help
Bring
the community.
awareness. Yeah, amazing.
And we do that in various ways. To give you a few examples, last year our theme was called Everybody Sexy. A lot of people came back to us and said that they felt very unwanted, unloved, and very under a lot of pressure to look a certain way, which is a running theme in the gay community.
That you did, yeah, that was amazing.
And we did some photo shoots of people of all different types of bodies, different abilities, different body shapes, different skin colors, different ages, etc., and just said, look, these people are all beautiful in their own way, and just trying to kind of like lift them up and be like, look, beauty comes in all different shapes and sizes. So and that was a really successful campaign. This year we're focusing on chemsex, which is an issue that's really pertinent in the London gay community, specifically as London is the chemsex capital of the world. Although it is an issue in most big cities, especially any city that has a large gay community.
Just for those people that don't know what chemsex is, could you just explain?
God, it's a very big thing, but I'll summarize it into like one sentence. It's basically a phenomena that affects the gay community where people engage in sexual intercourse with the aid of specific types of drugs. So usually that would be GHB, methadone, and crystal meth, which is obviously really, really bad in comparison to the others. And it's a phenomena that's kind of like blown up, especially since the pandemic. And there's quite a lot.
Why do you think that is?
Well, when you think about the root cause of all addiction, it all comes from a place of I've forgotten the exact wording now. It's ritual comfort seeking.
I was going to say, it's comfort, isn't it?
Yeah, and specifically with gay people, it's about community and loneliness, and people looking for their tribe, and unfortunately finding it in unfortunate places at times. But taking certain drugs obviously helps you lower your inhibitions. It makes you want to, do things that you maybe wouldn't do otherwise.
Yeah. Also makes you forget as well. Like you
switch off and escapism.
Escapism, that's the word. Escapism.
100%. But when you're in a room full of people, so I should also add that chemsex quite often happens in a group setting, or at least that's how many people are introduced to it. And so if you're in a room with people that kind of feel the same way as you and are also, taking these drugs to lower their inhibitions and, feel more free, then you've, essentially found your crowd.
Yeah.
And then it's quite difficult to get out of it.
Yeah.
And just to add on to that, so what we're doing this year is we're trying to put on a lot of events. We basically just put on events. That's our main thing. And like spotlighting and signposting to organizations that can actually help with all different topics. Obviously this year it's chemsex, but what we're doing this year, our focus is we're trying to host loads of events that are sober spaces. So just rather than, telling people don't do drugs are bad, isn't going to work for most people. It's the same as like telling kids like don't have sex, but they're all getting pregnant anyway. So rather than do that, what we've kind of decided as an organization the best way that we as non-medical professionals can help is to kind of just offer people an alternative. So we're gonna, we're putting on, we've got a book club, we've got, which, fingers crossed is gonna expand into a movie club as well. We're hosting some what we're calling a crafternoon.
Yes.
Or this one we're tagging is Stitch and Bitch. So
everyone's
gonna come. Yeah, we've got people like a couple of drag queens that are gonna come and everyone around a table like making their own outfits in time for festival season.
Oh my god, I want to come to that.
I'll let you know when it's going on.
Do you have to know how to sew?
Probably helps, but I don't know if you have to,
because
there are going
to be part.
Yeah. But yeah, we're just basically providing spaces for gay people to communicate and connect and create connections in a sober environment.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Such incredible work. How did you come about Impulse?
Funny, actually, you should mention that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us all, please.
Can I have one, please?
So actually, a couple of reasons. So I met a guy online a few years ago, for nefarious reasons, and the we never actually hooked up in the end, but we kind of maintained an online friendship. And then when I was doing my masters, I decided that I wanted to focus on. My master's was in journalism, by the way, I should probably say, but I wanted to focus on writing stories about my community. And chemsex is an issue that obviously affects my community quite a lot in London. And he is one of the directors at Impulse and mentioned to me that, this might be a good, kind of segue into finding out more information about chemsex and the community and just might open some doors for you. So I went along. Initially, I was only going along to kind of like interview some people and, write a story about chemsex. But then I ended up joining, and a year and a bit later, I'm still there, and it's going really well. Yeah, has opened up a lot of doors for sure.
Amazing. That's
Good.
incredible. We'll definitely add information about Impulse, a link at least to the Instagram page and the website and the show notes, and on social and stuff, which is amazing because. Yeah, we'd love to shout about things like that.
I'll just add one more thing. We do every 3 months.
You've been adding a lot of things.
Sorry.
Good, I'm glad. Keep adding.
This is going to be hard for whoever's editing this to cut it down. I will say we do every 3 months something that we call Bless This Brunch, which is a drag brunch that we do every 3 months. I have invited you a few times, but you never come. And that is, we kind of encourage everybody to come to that.
To call me out like that.
So that everyone's invited to come to that. Like, it's not just for gay men. Like, and we love everybody to come and join. And the only way that you can get a tickets are free, but the only way you can get a ticket is by proving that you have either ordered an online sexual health testing kit or been recently tested. We don't want to see your results. That is your business. But just, show us like a URL or a post package or something, and then you get a free ticket. And that's why it's every 3 months, because you should get tested every 3 months if you're sexually active.
And that is encouraging people to look after themselves, check in on themselves. I love that. I think that's brilliant.
I'm doing God's work.
I did actually start the process of getting my ticket, and then I can't remember what happened.
The straights got involved, and just
No, Sean didn't want to go, did he?
No, I don't think Sean wanted to go. I don't think.
That's fair.
But I mean, I love that you do that work with the community. I think it's so important, and it kind of leads us next into the next bit of talking to you a bit more about, dating. I mean, I've been there. It is a hard world. I did enjoy elements of it, obviously, but there was also a lot of stuff that I just was like, there's so many things that are wrong with our community. And it's one of the things that I find a lot with marginalised communities is around how marginalised people can be discriminatory against other people in another marginalised community. Yeah. It blows my mind. It literally blows my mind sometimes. And it happened a lot while I was dating. Mm-hmm. So I would love you to share some of your experiences of dating online. Obviously, a lot of gay dating happens online, and online dating is pretty unsafe in terms of the language used, in terms of there's no policing. I also think that a lot of companies like Grindr, Tinder, all of those people have a lot of answering to do with, reporting and policing those platforms. So yeah. And I know you share a lot of stuff on social media. Some of them I read and I'm like, Ricki, how do you even get yourself in these situations?
It's all for the memoir.
It's all for the memoir.
I'm going to write my play about my trauma.
What's it going to be
come and
called?
watch it and be like, I want some nuanced characters. Can't relate to this.
What's the play going to be called?
What's your play called?
Oh my God, I had it. I thought about this recently and now it's gone out of my head, but it will be good, don't worry. I'm good at naming things.
Yeah, so talk to us. What do you love about online dating? What
I would say, actually, for the breeders listening, is...
The what?
The straights.
Oh,
we call them breeders where I'm from.
That's hilarious.
What I would say...
I've never heard of before.
to straight people listening, because a lot of my straight friends always say shit to me like, oh, am I allowed to swear? I mean, I've sworn already, it's fine.
Yeah, of course.
They always say shit to me like,
have you met us?
Like, Ricki, why are you single? It doesn't make any sense. I don't get why you're single. You're so great. And I'm like, bitch, me too. The fuck? I don't know why I'm still single, because I'm a fucking catch. But what I would say is all of the issues that, you know, straight women have when it comes to dating, like online dating and in-person dating, whatever. Think of all of those issues that they experience, put that under a magnifying glass and times it by 10. And there you have a peek into the world of what it is to be a single gay man in London, because it is amplified to the 10th degree.
Why is that though? Because I'll tell you what I think from an outside perspective and somebody who isn't part of the community.
You are.
I'm an ally.
You're an ally.
Fair keg.
You've been a fat cag for a long time.
Because what you were saying earlier about the theatre show and about how the gay community is portrayed, that to me is the sort of one of the reasons why it's so hard to find a solid relationship within the community.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many people within the community that do want to have that kind of like carefree, free-spirited,
No
sex with everyone
attachment.
kind of life, and this is something that I've heard from. I've got multiple gay friends, and this is something that I hear
best friend's gay.
often. Few of them. So yeah, this is that to me that says why it's so hard. But from your perspective, I'm guessing that's different. Or
I think that a lot of people perpetuate this trope that a monogamous relationship is kind of like the holy grail of, you know, life or relationships in general. But I think if you start from that base point, you're always going to lose, because in today's society, whilst, you know, monogamy is still, you know, very valued for some people, it's not unrealistic, but it's not the reality for a lot of people. So if you start out thinking, I want to, you know, find a guy, settle down, get married, be completely monogamous, have this relationship until, you know, one of us dies or whatever, you are setting yourself up for disappointment.
I think I'm sorry,
Why
I'm going to
though?
argue that.
Because that is not the reality for a lot of people. I'm not going to say most people, because I don't know, but enough people for it to become difficult for somebody to try and navigate a dating world that is completely and solely focused on monogamy. And now I'm not saying that there is no space for monogamy. There are plenty of people that have monogamous relationships, and I'm not here advocating for polyamory. I've never experienced that myself either, although I do have friends that, you know, live that life. But I think you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself and your future partner, and unrealistic expectations on the gay community. And that's not to say that you have to change who you are, because there are other people out there that want the same things as you if you are somebody who wants, you know, a completely monogamous, long-term, end of days kind of relationship. And I'm saying this not from the perspective of a gay person, because it's not unique to gay people anymore. I'm saying this as somebody, as a millennial, as a young person. Monogamy is trending out, and that's not a gay thing. That is just an age thing.
But I do think that if you as a person go into a relationship wanting a monogamous relationship, that's completely down to the individual. Like, each individual is so different. Like,
Yeah.
But you need to go into it knowing exactly what it is that you want. And if you don't know what you want, then you need to go and explore. Because I think, I think that's it. I think if you want to go into something, you go in with your eyes open, knowing exactly what you want. If you go in and you don't know what you want, then you're 9 times out of 10 going to come out of it not with what you want, or with nothing at all.
do you think do you think that social media has a part to play in this kind of new age way of dating or being in relationships? Because there seems to be it's much more easily accessible and kind of throwaway to be able to go, oh well, you know, we've got online dating, I can DM someone on Instagram and just like move on to the next thing. Whereas, you know, back in the day, there was none of that. You had to like, you know, write a letter, or you said to the person that you wanted to go on a date with, right, I'll meet you down the dance at 6 p.m. on Friday week, and that was it. You had to be there.
Back in the day, women couldn't have jobs, and their whole lives were dictated by the man that they married. Back in the day, gay people couldn't even have a relationship publicly anyway, because it was illegal. So there is my point. We don't live in those days anymore, and that's
no,
not.
But what I'm saying
social
is
media.
The progression of social media and the progression of accessibility and the progression of variety
Social
has
media
had a part to play in people's view on monogamous relationships. And
I wouldn't put it up to social media. Social media
Not
definitely
solely.
facilitates it,
Yeah.
and definitely is a catalyst for something that was already happening before that. The change comes from a societal change, moving away from, you know, Christian or, you know, heavily religious beliefs and indoctrination. Monogamy isn't natural for humans. It's been that way for centuries because we've been told that, you know, in God's eyes, that's what is expected of you to do. But as we see now with the, you know, people are becoming less religious. People are becoming, you know, more enlightened, for want of a better word. But that in itself, removing those constraints, you know, socioeconomic equality between the sexes, women actually having a say in their own lives now, and not, you know, beholden to the wants and desires of a man. Gay people, LGBT people being able to live their authentic selves openly and freely. These are the things that are, you know, moving the conversation away from monogamy, because we're going away from these, you know, social constructs. Monogamy is a social construct. It's not inherent. There are very few species of animals that even, you know, are monogamous. And I just want to say as well, because I can see, I can hear the you know, the sigh of despair.
No, do you know what it is?
There's nothing wrong with monogamy.
It's not despair. It's despair. It's that I've known you for a long time, and I remember little old Ricki when I did meet him a couple of years ago.
I've never been little or old.
You wanted a monogamous relationship, and I feel like you've now been jaded by that. What is gay dating? And
oh my gosh, this just turned into Jerry Springer.
Oh my God rest his soul. He recently died.
I feel like it's made me feel a bit sad, because I feel like, you know, if that's what you want, then don't feel like you can't get that. It's attainable. If that's what you want, it can happen. You just have to put your trust in the process.
Right.
Like, because there was a point where I think I was slightly similar, where I was like, I'm never going to be in a relationship because everyone just wants to have sex and with loads of different people and not settle down. And I remember I was dating this guy, and I really liked him. And we were going on loads of dates. Remember Oliver? But he wanted to just spread his seed.
Name and shame, jeez. I hope he's not listening.
I don't care. He was a lovely guy. He was so nice, but I don't think he wanted to settle down.
He was a bit wet.
See, I told you we'd need it. I told you we'd need it. But what I'm trying to get at is that there was a point after dating him that I was like, I feel like I'm never going to meet someone that just wants me, and just wants me, and I'm enough. And I got to a point where I was like, maybe monogamy isn't for me. And I feel like that's, and I'm guessing, but I'm thinking that's maybe where you are now. And so when you were talking about the whole monogamy thing, I was sitting here thinking, that's not where you were before.
I think that the change has happened not through my being jaded, but just through kind of me opening my mind a bit more. And I think where I was previously, you know, quite fixed on the idea of monogamy, and having a monogamous relationship for myself, I think I've got to a point where I've realized that actually that was something that was forced upon me by society, and not something that I ever really I mean, I probably wanted it at the time, but it's not something that is necessarily right for me. And I'm not saying that I don't want to be in a relationship or a monogamous relationship. I don't know what I want. I'm just saying that my doors are my mind is completely open to, among other things, to you know what is out there, and I'm not gonna.
So now you're saying is that what you're saying is just to the people that are listening, in case anyone is searching. Ricki is not saying that he's not looking for a monogamous relationship, but what he's saying is he's more open-minded than he was before.
100%. And I want to preface that as well by adding that you have to understand, and you'll respect this as well. When the times are different now. When you grow up in the 90s as like a little gay kid, regardless of race, but that is something we'll touch on later. When you grow up as a little gay kid,
so I don't know.
Well, Louisa, you'll understand. When you grow up as a little gay kid, the idea of monogamy for you is completely off the cards. Because back then in the 90s, there was no representation. Will and Grace, great. The stupid little show that didn't actually, go into any depth about the ins and outs of a gay relationship. But you grow up as a little gay kid in the 90s, there's no representation. There's no older people for you to look up to see an example of what a healthy homo looks like, or a healthy relationship looks like. And so in a way it's quite sad because I look at young children now. I've got I won't say actually because I don't want to out anybody, but a young family member who is LGBT, and just the way that it's so like fine for them, and like they've got like boyfriends and girlfriends, like same-sex couples in school, which was not a reality. That was not something that I could have done at school. I would have got my teeth kicked in. It's nice, and I look at it and I see progression. I see how far we've come, and I'm like, that's such a beautiful thing. Like, young love isn't only for straight people, but it's also, it's kind of it makes me quite melancholic as well, and I also look at it in a way that makes me quite sad, because that was robbed from me. I wasn't able to have that experience. And so as an adult, when I finally came out into the wider world, and was exposed to the gay community, and started to see people in relationships, adults in relationships, I was then like, oh, it is a reality for me. I can have that life. That's what I want. And became a little bit maybe fixated on that idea. And whereas now I've kind of like let go of a lot of those ideologies, and I've moved on, and now I'm at a point where like, actually, that is like a heteronormative thing. No offense to the straights or any gays in monogamous relationships, but it's a heteronormative lifestyle that I don't necessarily want to or need to subscribe to. Yeah,
fair enough. I'm going to move us on swiftly from monogamy, because we have talked about it quite a long time. And I really want to get into the nitty gritty of some of the stuff that you do post on social around, especially around some of the messages that you get.
Oh God, yeah.
The racism, I'm going to call it racism, that you get online, because some of the stuff, well, all the stuff that you post, I've seen and received and shared with you sometimes.
What's the terminology that you referred to it?
Racial fetishization.
Fetishization, yeah.
Racial fetish. I can't say it either.
Fetishization. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, it's contagious.
Racial fetishization.
Fetishization, yeah.
Yes, that's
to be
it.
fetishized.
Yeah. So talk to us about that, like.
And of course, there are many other ways one can be fetishized, not just by way of race.
No,
but it is something that obviously I have experience of. Listen, let's just start by saying, online dating apps, especially ones targeted towards gay men, are toxic as fuck, and there is no escaping that. You said before that you think that these companies have due diligence to the people that use their apps, and they do, and they often do quite a lot of stuff to try and mitigate some of the negative impacts that their apps have on their users. But there's no escaping it, and you just have to learn. If you want to be in that world, you have to learn how to navigate it, and it takes a while, and you've got to be somebody who's got a bit of a tough shell,
Yeah.
as somebody of color. If you look a certain way, the experience that you have of these apps is completely different. Completely different. And I'm not, you know me well enough to know that I'm not somebody that plays the race card. I'm always someone that looks at things objectively. It's not always the answer, but it's most of the time the answer. Like, there are obviously many other things that affect how you experience these apps. And to the point where actually when I was at uni, one of the projects I did was an investigation into the experiences that people of different, looks or whatever have on these apps. And I had to conduct my own research, and the findings were quite interesting actually. I gave people a list of all of the, so when I'll just say I use Grindr as an example. And when you create a profile,
Grindr is a gay dating app.
Everyone knows what Grindr is. It's Tinder, but for the gays.
Even my mum knows what Grindr is.
Does she?
Of course she does.
How?
You.
She's hip.
No, she's
out in them streets.
I'd probably talk to her.
What's her name?
About Grindr.
Kay.
Kay's out in them streets.
Okay, cool. Spare tagline.
She's the original fag hag.
So yeah, talk to us about Grindr.
Yeah, so I when you create a profile on Grindr, you can select, you enter your stats basically, and that's to do with your height, your weight, your body type, your race, your age, etc., etc., etc. Some of those things are, important. I don't want to date an 8-year-old man or a child, so age is an important factor to put on your profile. Other things, maybe not so much. But I gave people this list, and I told them to rank based on each category, to rank how likely they were to reply to somebody that had a blank profile, so as in no picture,
right,
only their stats, and how likely they were to respond to somebody with specific stats.
Yeah, interesting.
Right. And as you can imagine, people of certain body types came up higher or lower. People that were chubby or short tended to come kind of at the bottom of those lists. And obviously white people ranked at the top of the list. So, I think I worked out that the ideal...
Imagine being short, chubby and black. Oh.
Do you know what? It's not even... Black people aren't even the worst. If
Asian.
you're short, chubby and South Asian...
Yeah.
Grindr is a difficult place for you.
Yeah.
But I think I worked out, like, based on the results, that the ideal person in terms of like Grindr is Tom Daly. Right. Aside from the fact that he's married, because that also came into it as well. You're more likely to get a response if you're single, obviously.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I quite enjoyed the task of married men.
There was one respondent actually put married as like the highest. Do you mean the task
of refusing their attentions?
No, just like the whole...
I think that is what you meant.
Something you can't have.
Yeah.
Forbidden fruit.
Yeah. That's what. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I meant like because I remember actually getting a lot of attention from married people and always batting it away.
Yeah.
How very big of you.
I did bat a few away, but I did also get into situationships.
We've all sucked some married dicks. It's fine. We move. Actually once I had made this whole plan for my life where I would go to like the Far East and find like a closeted sheikh and then just like suck his dick on camera, and then I'm set for life.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But then I figured actually it's probably not the best way, because they might just disappear me, and then
my god,
nobody wins.
I don't know where this has gone, but bringing it back,
that's what happens when you're on your own a lot. You get a big imagination.
Yeah.
Let me just clarify, I may be single, but I'm not alone a lot.
Okay, this Grindr is popping.
Not even actually. No.
What would you say? If you're in an ideal situation, what would you want to see more? What would you want to see improve when it comes to dating on apps?
Less dating on apps.
Yeah.
essentially.
Essentially, you want to see more people going out and do it. The thing is, people do that, right? I actually got chatted up once in a bar, and I found it so weird. Someone actually asked me for my number, and I turned around to him and said, "Are you joking?" He was actually quite an attractive man, but I was just so blown out that he actually had asked my number because I've never experienced that before. I was with my friend Lucy, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "He's obviously joking." And he was behind me. He was like, "I'm not joking." But I do think that if the dial shifted and people went back to that mentality of actually talking to people when they're out and about, that people wouldn't just be so shocked by it and be like,
It's a much nicer way of meeting people, in my personal opinion.
it is, but we're so used to the online bit. We're so used to being on our phones, swiping left and right.
Yeah.
That I think that we've become so accustomed to it that I think if we were to move into going back to that, people would find it odd, and I think there'd be a lot of awkwardness.
Really?
I think there's a nice security about being able to talk to someone on your phone. I actually enjoyed dating on apps because I liked the idea of getting to know someone, get to understand their isms, and then going on a date.
I don't know how you can understand somebody's isms or get to know somebody through a screen of black and white text.
Well, that's
It's
how I met
actually
my
black and
Shawnee.
yellow.
Black and yellow.
I met
yellow,
Shawnee
black and
through
yellow.
getting to talk to him online and liked his isms.
I'm
and
not
then-
saying that you can't meet somebody online and like them. I'm just saying that I think that it's easier to form a relationship with somebody when you meet them face to face, which is what you did. Because you might go on a date with 20 different people that you're talking to online, but only one of them, when you meet them face to face, is going to suit your requirements and your own personality and characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
So you're not
inclined to
really-
disagree a little bit. I agree to an extent. In an ideal world, we'd all meet people organically, and we'd all just like, you know, in the shopping centre, like we both reach for the same melon, and like,
Oh my God, I love that scene.
literally, like we'd love that to happen. But I think as well that you have to look at things. A lot of times, people have conversations about.
I would literally think that person was following me around the store. I'd be like, "You follow me around the store." I think it was weird.
I think
Sorry.
a lot
We
of the
know.
time a lot of the time when we have conversations about online dating, again, we look at it through a heteronormative lens, and actually, like, you can just meet, if you're a straight man or a straight woman, another person in the street or on the train or in the supermarket, and, you know, hit it off, and, you know, it's your little meet cute turns into love.
How do you know if someone's gay?
That's not a reality for gay people, because there's one of three things can happen. You can meet somebody in the shopping center and turns out you're both gay, and you hit it off, and that happens. Great, fantastic. You meet them, they're gay, they're not interested. You have a little awkward kind of, oh, never mind, walk away. You meet them and they're straight. They're very offended by the fact that you've moved to them, and you know that can end in a number of ways.
Oh, you're
so there's
sexually
Listen,
incompatible.
whether you're gay or straight, if you're getting the eyes, you're getting the eyes, aren't you? Or the getting the feels, you know.
Yeah, but as the person who's giving the eyes, you don't know that the person receiving the eyes
Totally
is
the person
also.
that gives.
Well, then who? Someone has to give, otherwise nobody gets.
I do see where he's coming
Which
from.
is why
It's
everybody
like
should be versed.
It's not just a straight line, is it? It's not just as simple and clear cut. There's so many different.
Of course not, but it's
Like-
not in either world.
No, it's
And
slightly
also, you
easier
have to respect as well that in small
Online.
towns,
though. No,
You're saying it's slightly easier online.
No, face to face. It's slightly easier for a hetero couple or hetero people to meet face to face than like in a natural, organic sort of way. Than for potentially for gay or LGBT people.
I don't know, because I don't actually know anybody who has like met anyone in a supermarket or something. Like, everyone I know is either met in like the pub or a bar or something like that, which is basically, you know, as a gay person you would go to a gay bar or gay pub perhaps, and that's how you would meet somebody out as well. So I don't actually know about the whole like supermarket scene or like, you know, cinema, whatever.
Cinema.
But
you should be talking
I
in a
dunno.
cinema, Louisa.
I know, I don't know why I said that. I've never met anyone in a cinema.
I've definitely seen hot people in the cinema, but I've never spoken to anyone. I mean, I I couldn't fathom going up to someone and telling them that I think, and like chatting them up at a bar. Like I just couldn't. It literally it'd make me feel sick. I would be a sweaty mess. I'd probably shit myself, and yeah, I would just turn up and blabbering mess. So I'm glad that I've had my phone to protect me. So from my experience, it has been helpful.
Yeah.
But it's also completely damaged my self-esteem, my confidence, my mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been called every name under the sun. I've been called the N-word. I've been fetishized. I even had people turn up to my house and treat me like shit. I've been locked in fucking people's bedrooms. Like, I have been through the mill, sister. Okay? But I think that there's still a lot of work to be done when it comes to dating online for protecting people, yeah. And that's why I keep going back to, I don't know what the answer is, but I do think that, I think Grindr should be axed, because I think unfortunately it's created a culture of...
But it's not the platform that's the problem, it's the people.
No, but
it is the platform to an extent.
Yeah.
How so? Like,
they've created a culture. Grindr's created the culture.
It's not just Grindr.
How has
all of
Grindr
the
created
apps.
the culture, though?
Because if you think about all of the apps that are based on, you're making a split decision on somebody based on their profile picture in a few seconds. It's not just Grindr. Think about Tinder,
that's
Hinge,
all
whatever.
dating apps.
Yeah, so all dating apps, they've created this kind of culture where, everything is so superficial. You make a snap decision, swipe left, right, and that has sort of become the norm for us now. So it's quite difficult.
Exactly. This is, but referring back to what I was saying earlier, it's made people disposable even.
Disposable.
It's made people disposable. So that's exactly what I was saying earlier on. Like, this whole way of thinking that, we'll just move on to the next one. That one's like, that one's done now. We'll move on to the next one.
What that's called is there's something that you get which is called choice overload, and when you have so many people, and people are so accessible to you, just at the flick of a finger, that if that person isn't completely perfect or isn't ticking enough boxes, rather than trying to like peel back the surface and dig a bit deeper and see if there's more to that person, it's okay to just swipe because there's another one waiting. So you kind
that's
of
not the reality though. For that wasn't the reality for me.
That's the reality for people that.
Oh God! Get the bloody violins out.
No, but like it's just like that is not the reality for a lot of people. Like for some people, yes, it's I can swipe right, and if I talk to him and don't like it, I can fuck him, move on to the next one. But
don't fuck him if you don't like him.
No, I don't mean literally. But for some people, like, yeah, I don't know.
I totally understand what you're saying, but I'm talking
my
about
emotions and feelings.
I'm talking from like a basic level.
Swiping.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I don't swipe. What I'm saying is that I don't see people as disposable, I think, in that way, because I realise, I suppose it's about the people. You're right, it actually goes back to the fact it's about the people using the platform. People that are using the platform, but the platforms have created the culture, and that's the problem. So if you want to see the shift in the people, you need to change the culture.
But also,
the platforms have created the opportunity. That's what they've created.
Take away the platforms have also there's good and bad to each of them. Okay,
100%.
From like let's take into account as well, especially for the gay community, which is a community that has long been ostracized from society.
Yeah.
When you're talking about people, for example, in small towns where there isn't that same level of access to people,
Absolutely.
Something like Grindr is a lifesaver, because you're literally facilitating the existence of a community, a gay community in that town where there could only be like 3 or 4 gay people, and you have no idea, but you open Grindr and there's someone probably like 10 miles away, but you've probably got a car, you live in the countryside. But obviously in the city,
I agree.
It's a bit different.
Agree with that, yeah.
My issue with the dating apps is twofold. Number one, it allows people to perpetuate certain stereotypes of society and certain discriminatory behaviors. So obviously we get into a situation where it somehow becomes acceptable to discriminate against people that look a certain way. Because you have that online, even though like often people do have face pictures, there's still kind of that there's a distance there, even though it's a virtual distance. So you're not necessarily, you don't have to see that person's feelings and reaction in real time. So it allows you, it's like, keyboard warriors. So you're creating a distance between yourself and the consequences of what you say to somebody online. And that often, you know, does happen to people that don't look like Tom Daley. However, what's happened now, I think, with online dating and gay dating, especially with apps, I don't want to keep harping back to Grindr, but obviously that's a reference point that everyone understands.
Yeah.
What happens now, and you wouldn't have this experience, I guess, because you've been in a relationship for quite a long time, but the way that because we've become as a community, this is why I think it's a bit different to the straight community.
Yeah.
Whereas a community, we've almost become dependent on apps like Grindr. There's a lot of issues with people having addictions to apps like Grindr.
Yeah.
It's such an ingrained part of our life now as a community that actually you find that the way that people speak to each other on Grindr is bleeding into reality as well. So now it becomes, you know, you have certain conversations with people in person, in real life, and because they're so used to having conversations in a certain way on these apps, on these platforms, it's now bled into real life conversations.
Fucking
so
hell.
it's going to take a lot of time. It's
Really?
not,
Like, give us an example, sorry,
It's
because
making
I'm
people
like...
unable to actually communicate in
Give us an
reality.
example.
It does, yeah.
Drink, please.
Sorry.
you know, it just you can very quickly pre these dating apps and stuff. If you had a conversation with somebody in a bar, you would hope that it would take a little bit longer for the conversation to move to, you know, the bedroom.
Yes.
But because of the apps kind of like cutting out that middle stage and just going, do you want to just sort that out while I'm...
Yeah, go on.
Go on.
I was trying to do it quietly.
I'll do mine as well at the same time.
I was trying to do it quietly. Go on with
Beverage break.
Beverage break. We also just need to do a quick cheers to us. It's, you know.
Oh,
this is a fun colour.
It's in the middle of a sentence.
Well, we've already braked for this.
I'll come back. It's fine.
We may as well. He's not going to forget.
Okay. That looks lovely. That looks like a proper cocktail.
Isn't it?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow.
I can't really reach, but I'm not going to stand up, Louisa, but thanks anyway.
I got ya.
Louisa.
Oh, there we go.
Ooh, that is delicious.
It's all right.
Ding, ding.
Forgot what I was saying.
Round
now.
2. We're back. See, I told you.
Anyway, the way that people talk on apps.
You wanted to give us an
into real
example
life.
of the...
Well, yeah, you like, okay, so you meet somebody and the conversation very quickly will go, you know, to that other sexual nature, which is not like how it would happen prior to, you know, apps and conversations like that happening on apps. It's kind of like a weird thing now as well where...
I feel like that was always the way that you would meet someone and they'd want to go straight to bed, depending on the type of person that you met, right?
I guess, but there's a lot less steps involved now.
But like in the apps, you know, is it not a thing where it's kind of like you're either on it to meet someone for a fuck or you're on it to meet someone for
A relationship.
Yeah.
There's different apps for different lads.
Well,
And
not
that's what I think.
Well, I
That's-
don't feel like there is for like straight people.
No, you're unfortunate in that respect.
You've got to be upfront and be like, look, no strings attached.
Because the way
or-
that you guys use Tinder, and say you guys, I'm pointing at you, that's really bad. The way that straight
That's
people
alright.
use Tinder is the way that gay people use Grindr.
Yeah.
And gay people use Grindr the way that straight people use like Plenty of Fish.
I've never used Plenty of Fish. I'm not sure about that.
What's Plenty of Fish? I don't know.
I feel
Before
like
my
that,
time.
my mum used to use Plenty of
I
Fish.
loved
feel like
Plenty of
that's it.
Fish.
I've never used
Oh my
that.
God, I loved Plenty of
Can
Fish.
I blow your mind?
Do you know
I
what?
love
There is actually an app, yeah.
They're
that
all
is
owned by the same
specifically-
people.
What?
Are they?
Are they? Oh. There is actually an app, yeah, that's for... Well, I don't think it's specifically targeted at straight people, but it is literally for sex only. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. You told me about this
Yeah.
once. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
How long does this go on for?
What, this episode?
My.
Yeah, we've been going on. That's what I knew it was going to be this, but we've been going on. But let's just summarize because you know I want to move on to questions and stuff. But what would your advice be to people that are going out and dating on apps?
Trying to navigate
that world.
Yeah. I think that the best advice I would give to somebody is to it's fine.
Get off it.
No.
Shut it down.
It's a harsh reality that the apps kind of like they offer something that is difficult to replicate in real life. My advice would be, when you start dating somebody online, is to get it off the app as soon as possible. Use that as a starting point, but try to decrease the amount of time that you stay online for.
Yeah, okay.
Try to minimize the amount of people that you're actually speaking to in that way. Like, if you're just there to get a hookup, then you're just there to get a hookup in it, like you're just dipping it and doing it. But if you're actually looking for a relationship, you know, for example, on Hinge. That's one that I use. I swear by Hinge. Maybe you've got like 5 or 6 guys or girls on your list. Stop. You know, try and get one of those people a little bit more engaged. Try and get to know that one person a bit more. And then, you know, maybe it doesn't pan out, move to another one. And then you can start, you know, the cycle. But like, keep it to a small amount of people and then get off the app and face to face as soon as possible.
Yeah, because that is it's mentally exhausting, you know, trying to talk to like
multiple people
at the
remembering
same
their
time.
names, remembering their background stories.
Do you know how many times I've said to somebody, "Oh yeah, because you do this," and they're like, "No, I don't."
No.
And I'm
Not
like,
me, babe.
Somebody else.
Oh, yeah. My advice, I mean, it's been, like you said, it has been a little while, but my advice would be, do not ever allow someone to diminish your character or make you feel like you don't belong in a space that you do belong in. Because I think there was a time where I didn't feel that I could be gay and black. I just felt like those two things just didn't work in the dating world for me and the way that I dated. And, you know, I was always seen as a sexual commodity. And I think that sometimes if you hear a narrative constantly thrown at you, you start to think, should I just do that? Should I just be a sexual commodity? And so don't allow the apps to change your character, because it can.
Easier said than done, but yes, wise words.
My advice is, know what you are going on there for first and foremost. And if anybody throws you any shade, racism, discrimination in any way, blacka.
Oh yeah, blacka.
Just get them the fuck off.
Yeah.
Can I just say quickly?
Although sometimes there are moments where you just feel like you have to go in. Okay, I have had people say things and I've been in a mood, I've been feeling a certain way, and I've gone, do you know what? You're going to feel my wrath today.
I just think don't waste your energy.
I know, but sometimes you can use it as a real teachable moment, because actually once it happened and someone apologised and said, I didn't realise that was offensive, and I explained racial fetishization to that person, and he was like, oh my God, never knew that was a thing.
Oh my God, you saved a life.
And so you don't know whose life you can save. Look at us, what we do on a day-to-day basis. You know, we are constantly educating people. Some people don't want to hear it, and we tell them about it anyway. And then one day they might change their mind and be like, do you know what? I heard from SISU and they said this, and actually I'm going to change. Yeah,
I would just like to say on that matter, before we quickly move on, I could talk about the gay community in itself like for hours and hours. But in terms of dating and in terms of these apps,
we'll have you back when you're in a relationship.
I was going to say, we might have to do a two-parter.
might be a while. No, so I just want to just clear something up once and for all, because it's an argument that people have quite a lot. When you're talking about dating preferences, racial preferences are not a thing. It's racism. You cannot say, oh, I just prefer white guys. It's just a preference. That is racism. And I just want to clear that up for anyone who is listening who is unsure as to why that would be racist. Because you are essentially, you're saying in that sentence that if you say to somebody, oh, I'm not into black guys, it's just a preference. What you are saying in that sentence is that every single black person, number one, looks the same, has the same kind of like thoughts and feelings and, you know, views on life and perspectives on life. So you're saying that they're all the same, which is racist. But on top of that, you're also saying that those features that they all have are unattractive inherently.
Undesirable, yeah.
And that is racism.
Preach.
And I just want to say quickly as well that I have also I do want to say, because like I said, I am not like I don't play the race card all the time. I have also had arguments with other black guys on Grindr who have in their profile black only, which is also problematic.
So problematic, but we're not going to go into that today because that is a completely different subject. Go into it today. But thank you. That was really interesting, and I hope it's given people a bit of an insight. Do you know what? I really wanted to have you on because I feel like I've also been asked a lot of stories about dating, even in my friendship circle and in people that I've met. And it's always nice to have an insight into the world because people don't always know about different people's experiences. So thank you so much for sharing that.
What's the next topic?
Thank you.
The next
We're moving on from relationships.
We're moving into our questions from our community, or SISUciety.
Can I just tell you, I have 2 anecdotes because I thought it would be really good to add to the story.
We've not got time for that.
Okay.
We have not got time for that. We can say that for another time. We have not got time for your anecdotes.
Shit, sorry. Sorry, Ricki.
I was going to tell you like my worst ever dates.
This is our longest episode ever.
Yeah. I'll just say one thing though. How do you feel like, this is a question for you, because we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? We're like, how do you feel like we've gone 360, not 360 or 180, like since you first started? Because obviously Ricki was our James before. Ricki was our producer for our podcast when we first started, and we didn't actually air any of them. But do you think we've changed?
He does just a lot of content that really helped.
Yeah, you can help.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, do you think it's changed? Have we got better? Have we got worse?
Well, you've got a backdrop now. That's a start.
We had a backdrop before.
And a mic.
My living room.
I mean, yeah, definitely. You guys have upped the game. There's a lot more like
bouginess,
content value here.
I feel like you're fishing for compliments right now.
I am. Because once in a blue moon, it's nice to get a compliment.
Put your ego back in the bloody box. For God's sake, let's move on to the quickfire questions.
No, we're going to move on to the questions from the SISUciety.
Oh, really? That's
just to end. Just to circle that whole topic up. I am still on the market for anyone that's watching.
Self-promo there. We'll get you that one clipped for your socials.
Ricki is still out there, Pete.
How old is Jesse? You didn't say.
Oh, bloody hell. He's had 2 drinks.
Stop it. Anyway, I'm just going to take one quick question from the SISUciety,
James
actually, because we're running out of time. But how do you champion someone who is starting their own business?
How do you champion someone? Well, it depends. It depends what kind of assets you have. So, you know, if you've only got a voice, then just give a lot of reassurance and encouragement. If you've got some big finances, give them some donations.
Give them some money. Yeah. Money's always good.
Social media platform helps as well.
I actually really feel like some of the stuff that we've had from people that championed us is actually just been following us, sharing us, talking about us, getting our name out there as much as possible.
Just raising awareness.
Yeah, raising awareness. And just super champions, like listening to the podcasts and stuff like that. Those are people that have really been championing us, and I feel like that's been really like helpful. And it's always so nice to hear when people like...
Just do whatever you can. Yeah, whatever you can.
What have you done in the past for other
whatever
people?
You can meet.
What have I done? I do a lot of... If I meet someone, like for instance, Harry Corrin, who we're getting on soon, Harry is someone that I will always champion because I truly love what he does and I truly believe in it. So every time I'm with someone, I will talk about him. And if anyone ever asks me, who do you think could do mental health first aid training, I always suggest him. Like I always find a way to make sure that I am elevating him and his brand because I care about what he does. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just what I do.
I really like Harry vicariously through you. I've never met him, but the way you guys talk about him and like put him up on this pedestal, I feel like we're friends and I feel like I like him a lot.
He's great.
Good. He's sweet.
You have to listen that to his episode. Anyway, let's move on to Mannies of the Week. And then we'll end on our quick fire questions.
Do I have to get my nails done?
No, we basically manifest something for ourselves for the week.
Manifestations.
Yeah. What's your
That's the end.
What's Louisa wants us to end on Mannies of the Week. Sorry, peeps. We're going to end on Mannies of the Week.
Okay.
We do normally end on Mannies of the Week.
Yeah.
But it was there, and I've just followed the order, babes. I'm just following the order. I have fucked up, peeps. I'm going to do quick fire questions. Louisa's sitting here as usual with her glary eyes, telling me it's wrong.
I like your glary eyes, Louisa.
Thank you, babe.
I really want to pour this drink on her.
You know the plan.
Right, so we ask our guests some quick fire questions.
Oh, I love this.
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Just say
That's
the
hard
first.
for me.
Just say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. What's your go-to snack?
Oh, something with anything I can dip in hummus.
What are
I
you?
like to put some paprika on top of the hummus. Sorry, carry on.
You are 100 years old. You have all your faculties. Where in the world would you want to be?
Firstly, I'm never going to be 100 years old. How dare you? Secondly, Hawaii.
Nice.
That's my like dream. Like I want to retire to Hawaii.
Nice, love that.
What is your favourite restaurant?
I don't never have a favorite restaurant, but I would go. Chinese buffet is up there. Just any Chinese buffet. It doesn't really have to be that good, to be honest. But I would love a Chinese buffet. If they've got
Nice.
sweet and sour chicken, egg fried rice, unlimited, then yeah. But you
Nice.
don't, just as a side point, don't eat rice and chips when you go to a buffet. You'll need to get your money's worth. Go for the meat and the seafood. That's what the expensive parts are. Eat all the
Yes.
prawns.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Eat
always
all the
say
shrimp.
that. So this is from my good friend Brene. You are called to be brave. What's the first thing that you do?
Brene Brown.
Yeah,
Good friend. What's
friend.
the question again?
Literally the best.
you are called to be brave. What's the first thing that you do?
Oh, just find a random bitch and slap them in the face. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
guys, hold on a second. Okay, let's go.
Yes. Love
You just gotta check a bitch real quick and then go.
Love it. And lastly, who are you calling in?
Who am I calling in? Wow. That's not a quick fire question. That involves thought, deep thought.
Really? I feel like I thought you would have had a list of
People.
call-ins.
Well, then it's trying to find one, isn't it, out of that list? Who am I calling in? So on the topic that we've discussed today, I guess I'm calling in just every member of the gay community that perpetuates a very narrow idea of beauty and clap 'em gays, basically. Do better, be better.
Be better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beauty is in all different shapes and sizes.
Here for it. Nice one. Thank
Thank
you, Ricki.
you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else that's yet to decide, we're going to end on our Mannies of the Week.
Nannies of the week.
Mannies of the Week. Okay, so my manifestation. Oh,
Yes,
Sorry.
Ricky.
Change it up a little
Bitch
bit.
Queen
Love
realness. So my manifestation this week is going to be having some fun. Like girls just wanna have fun. I feel like I've lost that like funness in me of late. So I just wanna.
There's the magic in me. I watched Pitch Perfect the other day.
I just want to have fun.
Bloody hell.
So that's my manifestation, is just have fun.
The other day, a tip for doing that is to just if someone asks you to do something or go somewhere, just say yes and do it. The other day, a friend of mine asked me to go to a roller disco with her, but it was like a bashment roller disco.
Oh, I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah. And I've never skated before. I've been ice skating and I'm awful at it. I'm terrible. I have to hold the edge the whole time. So I was like, I don't know about this, guys. I can't really skate. I don't want to fall over, break my neck, and then it's all over. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to fall. And it got to like 10:30 p.m. and I still hadn't left. And I was like, should I just like sack it in? And then I've just forced myself to go. And you know what? I was there until 1:30 in the morning.
Is this a regular thing?
Yeah, it happens quite often.
Can you send us the... We need to go to that.
And it's not too far away from you guys, I think. It's in Harrow. That's not far from you, is it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I had an amazing time. I had never skated before and like, a bit difficult at first, but I was a natural.
Say yes.
And it's a workout. I was
What's your
sweating afterwards.
manifestation, Ricky? We are
Wait, do
moving on.
Louisa's first.
No, we are doing yours.
Okay. My manifestation of the week. Oh, God. Do you know what? There's this guy that I've been seeing recently, but when I say seeing, we're just like fuck buddies. There's no like relationship involved, but I'm convinced that I can convert him, because I want that dick on a regular basis. So I'm manifesting.
You heard it here first, Mr. Man.
You're manifesting regular dick.
Yeah, I want the friend with benefits thing to just become like more than that.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah. But not marriage and
I was going to say,
monogamy.
this feels like a 360. But
Doesn't it? It literally feels like you are asking for a relationship.
I would like my cake and eat it too. I want to be in a relationship with somebody and then also be able to have sex with other people.
Okay. You heard it. My manifestation this week is... I just had it in my head and now it's like dropped out.
So she's scratching to try and find it.
I swear on my life, it was there. It was there. My manifestation this week is to... it's gone. It's gone, people. I'm sorry.
You want to get a cream for that thing that you've got happening.
Shh.
Oh, God. Organisation. Louisa's manifesting organisation.
It's funny because I was thinking that a minute ago and I thought, now I've said that one before. I need to get organised. I don't want to get organised. It wasn't that. But
Okay.
I'll take it.
Take the
I
organised.
wish I had organisation. Can I have that one as well?
Yeah.
Every other day I
I
organise.
organise.
On that note, kids, thank you so much, everyone. Stay brave, stay curious.
And stay honest.